Welcome everyone, guys, to the second episode of the Sim Pub. And we're live today with the Sim Pub in the second episode, talking about how to get into sim racing as you approach the esports from a new side, as you're just starting to get into racing and got interested in the sim racing, what is this about, and how to get in there. And once again, of course, we're joined by our co-host Cameron Rodger. Hello, Cameron. How you doing, man?
Yeah, all good. Very happy to be back doing another one of these. Obviously, it's been a couple of weeks, but we're here for episode 2, and hopefully going to give you guys watching a bit more of an insight into how you really get into sim racing itself. It's a lot more than just sort of showing up. There's a few different choices you can make, and we're going to go through those and which path you can go down.
Exactly. So the main question today is about how to get into sim racing. The reason why we're doing this live is because that makes that show, that makes that podcast just that little bit more interactive. Whether you guys are new to sim racing and got actual questions about things that we just talked about, we can then obviously grab them and put them into the live context. So I think the first kind of question you need to ask yourself when you come into sim racing is what kind of level or what kind of intensity and what kind of level of realism you want to go into, as there are three different, I would say, types of simulations or types of racing games, Cameron.
Yeah, there certainly is. Obviously, this is where it is somewhat subjective, but there's still some rough tiers you can work out. So if you want to just go, really sort of fun and arcadey, and that sort of stuff, you're gonna naturally go towards the games that are a little bit more catered for the masses, such as Gran Turismo, F1 games, those sorts of things. And yes, of course, they are also realistic in their own ways now. But there's obviously that mid brand that's getting a little bit more close to it, where you look at maybe Assetto Corsa or Project Cars, Automobilista, those sorts of things. Or if you really, really want to, you can, go to where we find the personal enjoyment, which is the more simulation factors of Assetto Corsa Competizione or iRacing or rFactor 2 as well. So these sorts of ones are where you're going to be going even more serious. But again, starting from the beginning, it depends what you want to do. Do you want to just show up and have a bit of fun? Obviously, you can take it seriously you want, depending whatever category you are. But if you want to have a bit more fun, have it a bit more maybe community based and this sort of stuff, you are going to go to those more arcadey games. And that doesn't necessarily mean they're bad, they're good in their own way. If you want to get towards in that mid sort of tier, you are going to be getting a little bit more realism. But if you're looking for something ultra realistic, then you are going to get to the limitation of the game, where, especially with AMS2, that has recently come out, it is very good, but there are certain cars on there that just feel a bit weird, and it doesn't quite make sense when you're driving it. Okay, obviously, again, people will say that about all different types of cars, but just the general physics on AMS2 are a little bit, are a little bit interesting. But then if you want to go full simulation, as we said, rFactor 2, iRacing, ACC, all of them have their flaws as well. But that is where the real serious guys are. I mean, again, for all of them, there's money involved now, but there's a lot of money going towards those ones as well. And from a driving perspective, I'd say you are going to get the more immersive feel.
Yeah, I very much agree with that. And the fact, as I mean, if you just want to enjoy yourself, you probably go the arcadey way because basically arcadey games are known to be just plug and play. You put in your controller, you put some key bindings, so acceleration, brake, steering, maybe look left, right, back, whatever, swap on the menu, and then you just go. Classic Need for Speed, classic Mario Kart, stuff like that. That is typical arcade style. And the thing, and I remember that pretty much when coming into sim racing as well back then, starting with F1 2000. Um, Back then I was on a keyboard, and for some reason I must have disabled the traction control, the in-game system traction control. And without knowing it, I was going around in circles and start spinning, and I quit the game nearly immediately as an 8-year-old guy. I just wanted to have fun and race. But I was so utterly frustrated by this traction control. And back then, F1 2020 was probably considered a sim, as going 20 years back in the technology. And I think that is what makes the biggest difference between an arcade game and a simulation. The one is basically just there for having fun. That's what I consider it. And the other one is just also for the love of detail, the love of racing, the passion and the strive to do exactly the same what the real guys are doing out on track.
Yeah, indeed. And I mean, someone has just asked in the chat, how can you sort of judge? Well, obviously, we don't know exactly what every single one of these cars is going to feel like in real life. But when you're driving a certain game, especially more arcade games, you can just feel it when you're driving, how the game, to some extent, is driving for you. It's reducing the amount of mistakes you can make, and it's just making it easier. And you can feel it when you're going around a corner, especially if you're still on a gamepad with the thumbstick. You can definitely feel it sort of assisting you. And then, obviously, as you work your way up to the more true simulations, there's no forgiveness as such. And yes, again, there are certain cars that may not be as good as others and allow certain bad driving styles. But in general, there's just a lot less forgiveness. You aren't able to drive like a complete, silly Billy to keep it PG. You can't, yeah, just go absolutely crazy. You still have to have some level of skill and understanding of what to do. And again, yes, there are various cars and things that allow you to do bad things, but in general, there's obviously no assists. Okay, yes, maybe ABS or traction control in GT cars, but there's no assists. There's nothing helping you. If you
Yes.
go into a corner too fast, the tires are just going to spin and slide out. And that, having to keep the car within that limit, and where you feel that limit, that is where it becomes into the simulation, where they're actually making the car chassis and the car tires somewhat feel like what they should do in real life. There's no leniency to that.
Very much so, and I just want like to add is like at all times you have to imagine that a simulation just puts real life values into some kind of black box and gets something out virtually that should match the realism way or the real thing in a certain way. But then we all know, on iRacing you just need to put minimum steering and you just need to put 50 to 60% of braking on whatever car, whether there's ABS or no ABS, and that is fastest way on iRacing. On rFactor 2, we know you need to take minimum tire pressures and you get the car into a weird slip angle in order to be utterly quick with it. And this year there was the virtual Le Mans 24, and the guys from IDEX Sports, they said, "What, Michi? What the hell are you doing? You're absolutely overdriving the car." And I was like, "Wait, I'm gonna put a PB and gonna beat your fastest guy by a second just doing that." And the moment they saw the lap time, they were like absolutely stunned. They were like, "How the fuck's that even? Excuse the language. How the f is that even possible?" And I was like, "It's just the way rFactor 2 is, and you need to kind of forget what you actually know on the real track, in order to be quick, in order to just put that into proper practice." And on the other way, though, and coming back to the question, where do we know from why and how a car needs to be handled? Most of the guys that are doing professional sim racing or a lot of sim racing, they look at onboards. Like, if I watch Formula One and watch onboards, I don't really look how a guy is taking a specific corner. I just look what the car is doing. Is it gentle? Does it just like? I was so impressed with Mercedes in the first 2 or 3 rounds in 2020. The qualification laps, so damn on the limit, but the car was literally on rails, like on a magnetic path. It just followed it, and you never saw Hamilton correcting. Basically, in Spa, coming out of Fungs, that is that fast chicane after Pujon, he was 6th gear flat out, and it actually felt that the Mercedes engine was not even strong enough to power out the car out of the corner. So damn strong was the aerodynamical and the mechanical grip this car had in that circumstance. And you look at those things, and then you try to somehow find and somewhat replicate it in the sim, and that's what it is sometimes all about. Because as long as you go smooth but fast, and can push the car to its limits, have the trust, have the confidence in the car, that's what makes you fast in the sim as well. And that is the parallel world between it. That is just my perspective from it.
Yeah, what you're saying is absolutely correct. I mean, the car dynamics and the car handling is really what you're looking at, and to what extent do you want to get close to that? Obviously, there's real life drivers who do all sorts of these different levels, but especially the ones that come towards iRacing rFactor 2, for the most part, they they do pretty much like it. Obviously, as I said, there are certain cars that may not be reaching the absolute potential of what it could be. And as you mentioned, especially rFactor 2 is a lot about the slip angle. And if you go into a certain hairpin and you just slide the rear
Yeah.
just enough, you get the perfect line and the perfect exit where you don't bog down or you don't just spin out. And obviously, that is an issue with how I guess the game has been made in some ways, but it's also about the different cars. So you do have to choose your cars. So our Factor 2's GT3s, the most realistic GT3s? No, um, that's just how it is. But if you want to then obviously go on the iRacing side of it, as you say, it's sort of the opposite way. It's so unbelievably sensitive, and you have to be
Yes.
right at that limit, which is actually quite low. It actually takes more, in some ways, a lot of skill to get to that as well. So again, that these are just sort of the things that you have to balance up with what you want. But yeah, that's really sort of how you choose your simulation of choice. Whether you want to go something a bit more user friendly, a bit easier, or if you
Yes.
want to go full simulation.
And that kind of leads us to the next topic, because after you've decided which way you want to go for, like, do you want to stay in an arcade kind of style? You probably be good with a PS5, just get your F1 2020 title, or even Assetto Corsa Competizione. Is Competizione on? I'm not sure, but one of those latest titles is out on PlayStation as well. Just can't remember which one it was. Well, the F1s, of course, are out there as well, but mainly Need for Speed, Gran Turismo. There's all the arcadey, simcadey kind of games. Well, Gran Turismo could potentially be also seen as a simulation, but since I don't have a PlayStation, I can't really speak about it. So after you've answered that question, and you come to the conclusion, okay, we want to at least go into, let's say, simcade or full simulation stuff, you better be off probably with a PC, because there's more variety of simulations, hashtag games available to your choice. But then you will be asked with the next question is which way to go. Like, the thing that's shining there in the red is like a high-end gaming machine. That's probably already overkill for the most simulations. So in order for you to start from scratch, I have put down a suggestion in the video description. You find a link to Amazon with a PC, and those specs inside there, Intel Core i5, maybe an i7, GeForce 1060 GTX, that should be kind of strong enough to actually enjoy racing single player, of course, and obviously multiplayer as well. So that would be just a suggestion for you as a hardware. I think with that PC we're around a thousand grand, and not 1,000 grand, 1,000 pound or 1,000 euros in that area, and that would give you a decent start. I also highlighted you a screen I would recommend, which is the Ultrawide. I definitely recommend Ultrawide because it just gives you that little bit more of an edge without you needing to buy 2 additional screens, or 3 screens in total. So that would be the next thing also linked down, and then I have also linked those headphones, because I do believe a Dolby surround system 7.1 on your head, that is also keeping environmental noises around the house away from you while you race, and you can focus on your actual thing, is something you will really enjoy when going into it. And then last but not least, And that's the interesting thing. What kind of equipment you gonna race on? I would say we put keyboard and pad away for this one, and
Yes.
basically focus on the driving hardware as such, like wheelbases, steering wheels, rims, or yeah, wheel packages like Logitech G29. I consider this, wheelbase and rim in one together, and that's what we're gonna talk a little bit about because there's different approaches possible, also depending on A, your wealth, B, how hard you wanna invest, C, what is your actual goal? Is it just to dig a little bit more deep, see whether that could be something for you, or whether you were like, I want to go the straight simulation way, just improve hard and just work more than a year on getting better.
Yeah, I think the equipment thing is it's quite a difficult one because you could easily spend thousands and thousands and thousands of well, whatever currency, pounds, euros,
Yes.
on all this sort of equipment. I mean, I personally, I've been doing sim racing for like 5 years now, but I mainly started with a G27, and that broke, so I got a G29. And then for ages, all my friends around me were getting, like Fanatec's or even, direct drive stuff that's available nowadays. And I just never wanted to spend, let's just say, over £1,000 like on a wheel, rig, pedal, all this setup, or a couple of £1,000. So fortunately for me, I don't know if you can quite see it on the webcam, but I got a CSW 2.5 from a sim racing friend, secondhand, and that was the perfect situation for me. So you don't always have to go brand new. I was
Yes.
sort of waiting for the right thing to come up on basically, on a deal like Black Friday deal or something like that. But in the end, I got one secondhand, and it's been doing me great the last 6 months. And that was a real, a real step towards, I guess, immersion, because I still use the G27 pedals because I haven't bought pedals yet. But the steering wheel certainly helped with my, I guess, motivation, and potentially with my driving a little bit as well, because you can feel just that little bit extra. But for those people who are starting from the absolute zero, you don't have to go absolutely crazy. I mean, for instance, I've just
Yes.
got an IKEA desk, and I literally just drilled a couple of holes through it to mount the Fanatec, and that was it. You can do it on a very cheap budget, and don't necessarily blame your equipment for one reason why you're slow or not, because people have, or still, for instance, Rudy Van Buren, world's fastest gamer 2017, he won that on a G27, right?
Yes.
And okay, yes, we're 3 years on, and loads of people have newer wheels since then, but you your equipment can only get you so far. That is the fine tuning element to your feel and to your consistency. Your actual ability is down to you, and how you um what your attitude is towards the sim racing, how seriously you take it, how seriously you practice, what your mindset is, um, when you're actually driving, like whether to do with your aggression or your over pushing and all this sorts of stuff. So a lot of it is literally just down to yourself. So equipment is important, but just remember you need to improve yourself as well. But to finish this point on equipment, just don't think that you have to go absolutely crazy. You can do it like me on an IKEA desk with, minimal money being put into it, minimal investment put into it. But if you do have the ability to spend literally four figures on something, I would definitely recommend improving it, because even just this wheel has improved my life so much more. And I know many friends who've gone with, some crazy pedal setups and things like that out there, and it makes you more motivated because you just have more feel, you have more engagement, you have, I guess, more concentration almost, because like with a G27 you can just sort of drive it like this down the straights, and it's almost like too easy. Whereas this, okay, yeah, it's not the strongest wheel in the world, but it still sort of fights you and all that sort of stuff. So that really helps with the feeling of actually, I guess, pretending you're driving a car.
I, I know what you mean because I was while you were going ahead, it's like everything he says is correct, and I still question myself. where did my performance gain came from last year to this year. And the only thing that has changed is I got this equipment in the back in September last year, and probably by the end of the year I got fiddled in with it. And what you say, it's not like you're going driving down the road. It's actually you're getting a few milli percentages more feedback or whatever from the equipment back. That makes you just extract more on your skills or from your skills and put it into performance. Um, so it's interesting that you say about this, what you say about this cheap or kind of entrance level equipment, because it is very, very strong indeed. I remember myself back in 2008 and 2009, I used up two Logitech um, driving force FX wheels per year because it was like and you know
Yeah.
pulling all over the place, and it was so cheap that it just simply broke. The pedals have been not even potentiometers. I don't know what the pedals really were. Anyway, I used them twice, the two of them a year, so 80 euros twice a year. And then in 2011 or 12, I got myself the state of the art back then Logitech flagship G25. And this has been fine for
Oof.
7 years. It was just so good on a safety record. Like, I had to actually get rid of it in the end because the buttons have collided, so they weren't be clickable anymore, and that would have probably been an easy fix if I would have been a little bit more smart. Anyway, coming to the point where we talk about the setup, that is an actual picture of that just
Oh,
mentioned G25 8 years ago. Um, that was still rFactor 1, I believe, as far as I can see
yeah.
this. Excuse the chaos around that, but as you can see, back then G25, that was the way I started with before I upgraded after some time to a G29. And apart from the brake pedal in the G29 was a little bit of an issue, which we fixed by changing around some things. So you just sometimes need to be a little bit more creative on how you may be fixing your issue. That was the way I went into it. And just as you mentioned, Rudy van Buren has won the world fastest game on a G27 or G29 as well. And I was on the same wheel at the time, yet not with the same skill, and still by today, not yet with the same skill either. But that's how I got into it. And I got where I am right now by using a G25 for most of the time as well. But I have to say, the upgrade on the rig there in the back has been a huge one. We're still here seeing pictures of, I think 4 or 5 years ago. I have my new laptop on this one already, so it's probably 5 years ago. Um, Things have changed massively there, but this is more than enough in order to find out for you whether sim racing on a simulation side of thing is something for you. Then you may want to go further, or whether you want to just stay there, enjoy, have some fun with a G25 or G29. You're perfectly off that. For exactly just sitting down, having fun, enjoying racing, enjoying after a day full of work, get together out on track with some friends. A G25 is absolutely fine for that. And it's just interesting looking at the video how my rFactor 2 back then was set up with head movement and everything. I was like, Michi, man, what have you done
Yeah.
back then?
Yeah, that is not, I mean, some people like the head movement, but I'm like yourself. I don't really like it. But obviously that's a preference in the settings. But yeah, I mean, you can
Yes.
see here back in the days well when we had the TrackMap plugin
Yeah,
for
yeah.
all the sort of the
RF
information on
Dinhood or
screen.
whatever it was called. Yes, I
Yeah,
remember
that
that.
was awesome. But yeah,
Honestly, I miss it. I miss it.
yeah,
Gotta
in
say.
many ways I do as well. But you can see with this wheel as well, the 25, you only had one thumb button each
Yes.
side.
Yes.
Whereas now, how many have you got on your wheel? Like 27 or something.
Oh,
So
plenty.
yeah, that is another reason to get more newer and modern equipment as well. Is just the little perks that come with it, like that. But
That is
yeah,
a
it's
G29, by the way, already. So that is a picture that's 2 years old with a button box.
Yeah, this is what you
What I basically raced on until before I got this one. Yeah.
yeah, but the interesting fact that you made a little bit ago as well, at the start of this point was, I mean, you can see it on your webcam. To the left hand side of the screen, you got the G29 up on the shelf.
Yeah.
To the right hand side, we got your crazy rig that's worth many thousands.
Yes.
But the improvement that you made, it also it took you a bit of time because
Yes.
you weren't straight away. It took you a good few months to get on pace. So that's something that you have to take into consideration as well. Is if you do get nicer equipment, it may not be a direct thing because you have to get used to it. I mean, I know someone from my old team. He got a load cell brake pedal, and it literally took him many races back in 2019. It took him many races to get back up to speed. Just getting that feel. So you do have to take all these things into consideration. But yeah, this picture right now is amazing. Seeing this rig, and yeah, this is the app. Well, I'm sure there's crazier rigs out there, but this is certainly a very good one
Yes.
if this is what you want to get into.
I would say it is somewhere probably in the area of top 15 in terms of top 15% of value, um, and top 15% of quality what you can get. I mean, basically, I'm just probably gonna do that live because it's going to be a little bit more interactive. So quickly gonna change to another scene. So for those of you that want to get a little bit of a feel, I want to say a little bit of an idea of what the money we're speaking all about. That G25 is 250 quid. Got pedals, potentiometer pedals, the wheel itself, and then I think for another 50 pounds or 50 whatever, you can get this shifter and the additional box with it. What I got here though is like the alloy rim. That is that one. The TV stand, this keyboard holder, the wheelbase holder, and the seat. That is worth 1,700 euros. Beyond that, down here, I'm not sure if we can see. Yep, that is the base pedal plate is another 100 quid. Pedals itself, Huizenfeld Sprints was 715 back then, I believe. The screen 730. Currently out for repairs. The Akira GP F1 Mercedes AMG replica wheel, 1,800 euro for the rim. This Fanatec was 350, I believe, or 380. And then the OSW engine, OSW wheel there in the back, that has been 1,000 euros as well. And the button box, 250 or 300 euro. I can't remember. It's 2 or 3 years old already. And then, of course, the big machine there in the back, 2.5 grand. But that is what you can spend on sim racing equipment. So that is pretty impressive, and that is pretty expensive. And therefore, I definitely recommend. Damn it! I definitely recommend that you first think twice, or first maybe start with a low action G29, but then get into it and question yourself whether it is something for you to go deeper, and then probably a rig like this could be awesome.
Yeah, I mean that is just quite a big difference to my Fanatec here. That is, as I said, literally bolted to a table. So they are definitely the different ways of you getting into actually driving. But it's a bit more about it's not just about the equipment that you have, though. It is also about the people that you're with and the communities that you find, because often, especially with the slightly, let's say, lower tier leagues that are slightly less on the competitive serious side, um, you're generally finding it's more of a community that everyone's a bit more friendly and taking it a little bit more with a pinch of salt. So those sorts of things is all about where are you going to find these leagues, and how is it really going to yeah, how is it really going to work? Now, a lot of these leagues you find they're going to be on on a website or on Discord, on Reddit, these sorts of things. You're gonna have to find it through a community. There isn't necessarily just a list out there somewhere with all the leagues in it. I know there are a couple of sites out there that a lot of leagues do sign up for, but a lot of the time you're literally just going to have to go out and find the leagues yourself. Just a little bit of searching, a little bit of googling, but Discord, Reddit, and Google are probably your best ways of finding it, especially on the slightly lower tier level, the more entry level. You're gonna have to look around a little bit.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, um, in iRacing there is an official forum, so is for rFactor 2 there is official forums. That would probably be the recommended ways to get your info first. Second, beyond Googling, if you are on social media, Facebook and whatever, you find a lot of groups. So rFactor 2 Central is a group there. Then there is the group Simracers with over 30,000 active members. So news of leagues and other events, infos are going to be shared there at times. And other than that, most of the leagues really do run their own forums and own websites, and you reach them by googling. That's for sure. So um, that would be the way to get yourself into the league racing. Apart from the league racing, iRacing at least offers a competition system where there is a race in various cars and various tracks at least every 2 hours, depending on the series every half an hour or every other hour even. That is an awesome way to get out on racing, to get on track, to get into competition itself. Not necessarily a league, but at least you have odd races where you can prove yourself against other people, especially with a rating system in place there. You can kind of compare yourself to others and see how would you do, and then if you even want to dig deeper into a league thing where you really over a period of time have a specific amount of races, um, then the forums or watching for those leagues and competitions is the way to go.
Yeah, that's something that we sort of didn't really include when we're talking about the simulation. Is also what style of racing do you like? There's often the term called pickup racing that is used with things such as iRacing, where, as you say, there'll be various races, during a set time. So during a week, there'll be various races on the same track, same car, or same classes with this multi-class, and you can just go there and sort of do it over and over again every time you get to the next race. But with those, in general, you're going to have a tiny bit less preparation in terms of practice, but then a lot of your practice will come from doing the same race 5 or 6 times in a week, effectively. Where we come to something such as my league FSR, we have a set season that's maybe let's say 6 months long, and in those 6 months you're going to have a race every couple of weeks, and you already know from when the calendar is released, exactly what track it's going to be and all this sort of stuff. So you have a lot more time to prepare, and each race is more significant and more important because you only have one chance to get the race right. It's not just like, oh yeah, I crashed, I'll do the 9 o'clock race later or whatever.
Yeah.
You don't have that opportunity. You've got to make it count. So you do have to choose what style you want and what you like. I mean, personally, me and lots of people I know, we like the style of racing that is more league based. So you get a calendar, and every couple of weeks or every week, you have a certain race and prepare for it. But obviously, if it is your style where you want to go and find a race, there is certain races within um, Gran Turismo, in I guess F1 open lobbies as well would come under this sort of thing where you can sort of just jump in. If that is up your street, then maybe um, looking for a platform that offers that is better for you. But I would say once you sort of get into it, going on the league basis, I'd say overall is a better way of to the racing. So it depends whether you like the long-lasting competition or whether you just want to do a few races for fun. That will still be competitive, obviously, if enough people are signing up for them. So that is a balance that you need to choose.
Yeah, absolutely. And to get a little bit more into this competition area, we're just gonna look at two already established competition systems first, and then look into a new one that has just been recently released. First of all, um, we're gonna have a short look into iRacing. So, as Cameron was mentioning it, when you had a bad race, you're like, just yeah, I don't care, I'm just gonna do the race next hour, which is exactly the case. If you go here, like the Dallara Formula IR that I just raced 2 hours ago, the next race is starting in 50 minutes, and then in 2 hours 50 minutes there's another one. So if the next race is just bad, and if I still have time, I'll just go to the next one. Um, on the other side, in those races, you can also gain yourself your results and gain yourself some points. And how many points or rating you get depends on whom you race at and where you finish. So for today's race, the 1700 GMT race, I was on the top split, 2.4k. I rating, that is the result coming up right there. And as you can see, we came second here. And because we are quite high, so 3,000, well, not high, but in that split high, in strength of field 2,417, that was the average strength of the drivers. And with my rating being 3.7k, I was considered to be a better driver, so I was considered to be at the top. Hence why I got 50 points for finishing in second, while, or better other way around, Matthew Crisp finished in third, got 20 points, but Francesco Panetta, who is 3,000 I rating only compared to Crisp, got even more points for fifth place because relatively to Crisp, the system says he did better. So on the one hand, there is I rating, then there is the safety rating, which just says how many contacts or incidents you have during a race. And those two things combined make you eligible for racing in different series. So you have rookie, then D class, C, B, A. A is the most safest one, and there you drive the difficult and fastest cars, most difficult cars, and fastest cars, and that is how iRacing works. Then I do know on the other hand there is a race room who is now doing ranked series, so it's the very same way. You do start doing some racing in ranked series, and those servers have been quite full recently. So I heard a lot about this and probably going to explore that in the winter's time a little bit more, how the ranked system is working itself. But it's basically just another competition system like iRacing had one. And I mean, at the end of the day, they are all equal and all very different from each other, as weird as this may sound. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Cameron, there's also, I'm not sure how deep you're into that, in Assetto Corsa Competizione, there's also a kind of ranked or competition system. Um,
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I don't know ACC too in
yeah,
depth, but
same here.
ultimately, what the point that you're making was each of them are trying to do the same thing, but in a slightly different way.
Yes.
And this is actually something that we loosely looked into a couple of years ago for FSR, was adding in a system like this. But it, for us personally, doesn't really work because we don't have the number, the specific number of drivers in the league. Because obviously, um, we get, let's just say, 100, 120 drivers a year compete in FSR in the main season. Whereas obviously in iRacing and all these other things, they get thousands and thousands. So you're able to make a more global, more accurate um, scale, because effectively it's sort of a average. As someone's mentioned in the comments, is an ELO system, and what it basically does is it looks at all the people who beat you and
Yes.
all the people that you beat, and it looks at their level. And obviously, if you're getting beaten by loads of people who are um, less ranking than you, obviously they're going to take some away from you, and eventually over time it will work itself out and balance it out, and all the averages will come in line. So when we don't have the number of races or the number of competitors in a league such as us, it doesn't really work out. But in iRacing, where you can literally do 3, 4, 5 or more races a day, you could race with all different people, different cars over the span of a year or multiple years. It is a really good system to have. There's obviously loads of different settings that come along with that you can change. You can change the gain and the loss. So
Yes.
you could have it so you effectively gain more for beating people who are even more. So let's say someone's 1 rank above you, you would then get 10 points. But if they're 5 ranks above you, instead of getting, say, 50 points, in the same
Yeah.
multiple,
Yeah.
you'd actually then get 100 points. So it's sort of like a
Exponential. Yeah.
exponential graph. Those sorts of things can be added into it. So it's not really a system you can tweak afterwards. You sort of have to set it. And it is very good. But again, it's just, is that going to be of interest to you? Because with iRacing, as you said, you're literally locked out of the certain cars. So I myself, I'm not very good. I think I might even be still a D license. I think I'm still a D license. So I'm locked out of lots of the competitions. So I would literally have to grind and play the game and buy all this
Yes.
content to get to that level. Whereas I know they've just released a competition system for rFactor 2, so we'll have to see how that one works out. But especially sort of on the league side of it, that is very big in rFactor 2. I mean, you could literally just show up and do whatever you want. You have more freedom. You're able to actually drive the cars that you want on the tracks that you want.
Yes.
It's a lot, yeah, it's a lot better in that regard. So again, you have to choose which sort of system that you like.
It's very interesting that you mention it because we're gonna talk about this now. Um, just yesterday, rFactor 2 has released a new build, introducing on the one hand the new user interface as being sort of the future standard. So that's been kind of pushed out to be used now as the main setting, as the default setting. If you still have troubles with the new UI, you can revert back on the beta option of the game to use the old user interface. But the most significant, and I think also the most important change, and it's going to be a big deal for rFactor 2 and Studio 397. It needs to be a game changer, and it is the kind of system people were waiting for up to 2 years now.
Or
5.
yeah,
I mean, literally, it was missing since day one. But we've heard it so often that rFactor 2 works on a competition system, and now they have released the first kind of test version of that competition system. And we're gonna read a little bit through this more through this December build release notes they brought out on their webpage. For God's sake, I hate Steam at times. Here is basically the November roadmap recap and an introduction into why are they bringing out just bits and pieces of the competition system, and also what they are trying to plan and how they try to move that forward. Now, I do know that they've tested it backstage a lot of times. I've seen some notes, and I had some conversation with Marcel on it in between, that they are working on that competition system and how they design the system to work. And now they have released the first branch in order to get out as much data as possible from it, from a real life test. It's just as usual, you design something, you test it like this, you test it like that, and it could be even a small Excel sheet that you design for your colleagues in work. And after 8 hours of programming, you thought you would have covered everything, and then you give it out, and it takes 30 minutes, and then why is that functionality not working correctly? And you're like, oh, I tested 100 things, but the 101st one I didn't cover. And now rFactor 2 is at the point where they want to cover the 101st one, and hopefully not any more else than that. But really, really quick introduction. How is this system designed? Looking at the ratings, which is probably the most anticipated feature, and they won't have them right from the start. So I do believe they will have them somewhere, but they will not really do the ranking with it, as they may be not reliable or not having the perfect algorithm just yet. However, they want to check their algorithm on real world data before really publishing it, and therefore is their philosophy to have a single rating system that encapsulates both skill and safety driving level. There's going to be a process and decision system. Just like iRacing, rFactor 2 will in the future govern most of the things by their anticipated technology used on the track. So the cut system, erasing lap times. When you have more than 3 cuts, you get a drive-through penalty. I think even for excessive driving, so proper dive bombing, and in iRacing you would get a 4x, but I think in rFactor 2 you can get, big F, you can even get, is it a drive-through or a stop-and-go penalty for unsportsmanlike driving, which will be interesting. I saw that sometimes happening on Jerne Simoncic's end, despite he has not committed any unsportsman.
Reckless driver is Yene.
Yeah, he's called reckless driver, and every time he does something, it's like, why am I deemed a reckless driver again?
Yeah, I mean those things. Yeah, they'll obviously have to balance out the settings for that sort of stuff.
Exactly, but they are looking into it, and they are now giving us a first throw, and they are starting the competition with, I noted it down, with the FT60 Tattoos Winter Series. We're going to talk a little bit about that in a couple of moments, but that's not going to be the only format. It's just the first thing that they are trying to throw out. Of course, they are going to run their GT Championship, so GT Pro, GT Challenge over it, and I think also interesting for FSR, Cameron. I think they're going to include the most prestigious leagues available right now in rFactor 2, do they? Do you have any information on that?
Yes. So, um, as well, yeah. I mean, obviously the final details aren't out, as you see. It's just been
Yes.
released, but obviously eventually there would be. I guess the easiest way to put it would be sort of like a pyramid system, where obviously they almost have a laddering kind of system to show which are the, I guess, better, more well-known leagues and this sort of stuff. So hopefully that is going to be a addition, but obviously that is not like a priority of what's needed right now, because right now they need to just get the base competition system, and as you see, obviously the ratings and that sort of thing worked out first, because that is the fundamentals. And obviously things with the incidents and the detection systems, all this sort of stuff, that's the fundamentals of the system. So the sort of uh the the additions that come with this and the potential is very good. It's just obviously we need to make sure that it's all working before any of this fancy stuff can be coming. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if eventually you literally have third party leagues all on the competition system, because at the end of the day it's better for rFactor 2 to have this, because at the moment if you want to find a league on rFactor 2, you either have to just know the name of it and search for it on Google, or you go onto the rFactor 2 Discord, and there is actually a couple of channels for that sort of stuff for third party leagues to advertise. and
Yeah.
obviously leagues such as FSR, and there are a couple of others where we are, effectively partnered with 397, and those sorts of leagues, I guess, may get priority when it comes to the league thing. But again, we'll have to see exactly how they do it. It is still early sort of stages, and to be honest, I'm really looking forward to it. Really looking forward
Yes.
to it because I think the potential here is, you know, finally R Factor 2 getting a ability to grow the player base,
Yes.
because at the moment it is very difficult to jump into R Factor 2. A lot of people on it doing the big leagues and competitions, they've all been around for years and years, but getting in the new waves of people is what we need on R Factor 2, because it will not only help in terms of there just being more activity, more events, but eventually, obviously, there'll be more people buying the game, more people buying DLCs, which means that this money can then be invested back in. 397 will be able to, potentially get more staff and um, more, you know,
Resource. Yeah.
equipment, resources, technology, all this sorts of stuff. And it's just sort of a snowball effect. And this is the start of that. This is that ability to allow it to expand. At the moment, it doesn't have that ability to expand, but this is that first step. And I'm sure through this we'll get the ability to get a lot more player base, which at the end of
Yes.
the day is better for everyone.
Yes. Yes. I do hope it is a big and huge step. I'm not saying that R Factor 2 is straight away able to conquer with iRacing or also Race Room or Assetto Corsa, which has quite an established and good competition system already. Um, but I really do hope that also people do not have the latest and highest expectations of the system just yet. Yes, it has been announced since years. We're waiting on it since years, and now everyone is probably looking at it, seeing flaws. But I do hope that people do not just say, "Nah, this is broken. I just don't care," but that they will give actually proper feedback. Because just looking at some more features, roles and team-based driving, so it will be added to allow multiple drivers share an entry in a competition, and roles can also be defined so teams can have a manager or a race engineer. And I'd be particularly interested in this part, manager or race engineer. Will there be any features that allow you to see fuel or tires, or adjust a pit stop? All the stuff that is being done that can be done on iRacing, apart from seeing in the tire stuff. But someone to really excessively have them sitting on the server, taking off the load from the driver, that would be awesome. Also, the broadcast integration is a nice thing. You guys watching my streams, you know that I'm using the official Studio 397 TV overlay, which is basically already working. It's already there. You basically just need to run it from your own PC, also as a streamer. And last but not least, there will be offline championships where you can race against the AI and somehow still be ranked in the competition system. We'll be interested to see how that works overall. We're gonna now try to enter this rFactor 2 competition system live. Um, just a disclaimer already, I haven't fired up rFactor 2 for quite some while lately on this machine, so there may be issues with it. But while we are firing up the game, as Cameron, what do you expect from this system to come, or what do you expect with rFactor 2 and its, let's say, fame, let's say, usability, and especially from the user numbers? What do you think this will mean for rFactor 2 and Studio 397?
Well, yeah, as I mentioned earlier, one of the main issues with rFactor 2 is the player base. So, coming to rFactor 2, days ago before the build release, it was you basically didn't know what was going on. You bought the game, cool. Maybe you bought some DLCs from the store, cool. And then you open up the game and you're like, what do I do? There was no sort of um you had to use the initiative yourself. The game wasn't pointing you in a direction of where to go. Whereas now go on the game, you click on the competition system, and automatically, as we'll see, already we've got this Tatus Winter Series, and it's just there, and it's telling you the dates, it's telling you the tracks. There's literally a button that says subscribe to the content, and it will subscribe to everything. And these things are very important because having from a user experience, you want to be able to go on and know exactly what's going on straight away. And we saw this through the virtual Le Mans, how some of the pro drivers who are coming in, they had to effectively be taught by the sim racers in their team how to use rFactor 2. And again, it's not difficult, it's not complicated, it's just there are certain things that you need to know that the game doesn't prompt you to know.
Yes.
Whereas now, we already got into that. You don't have to mess around with packages and all this sort of stuff. You press one button, it's going to subscribe you to the content. You press another button, and you're signing up for an event. And that ability to be easy, a result screen as well, to have a ranking system eventually, having all this in front of you is the way that you're going to keep people interested. You're going to reduce the frustration levels and all this sort of stuff. And eventually, as this expands, this to go far is amazing. And yes, it might have taken a couple of years longer than what people wanted, but this is really, I think, going to be the start of rFactor 2 trying to get towards a greater audience. And again, it's going to take a lot of 2021 for this to really kick off big time.
Yes.
But despite what people are saying about rFactor 2, about 397, etc., they're doing a lot of work. They're not a big studio, haven't got the biggest budget in the world, but they're getting there. They're improving the game, and it may be a little bit slower than what people want, but we're finally there with the competition system. And as long as they keep on updating it, it's just gonna, be such a big step. Because once they can start advertising this as well, and once they can make it known to people that there's this ability to just jump in and race it, competitive races,
Yes.
then that's really the next step that rFactor 2 is needed for a little while.
I agree with that, and there's not much to add. And I think we're gonna dedicate the next episode of the SimPub to this competition system alone. After we've seen how it works for the first couple of times, because as already mentioned, and I'm sorry I'm unable to show right now. First of all, my rFactor 2 is still doing updates, and then also I received messages in between that the system currently not working because there were some issues on it beforehand. I am very aware of that, and I mean, it was expected to a certain extent. Whenever rFactor 2 rolls out something new, and it is that thing what I just mentioned. You test so much within your team, you test so much within your company, and then you shot it live, and the first user uses it, and it's not like it's just a clean rFactor 2 installation. There's other sims, there's other platforms, there's other plugins. There is stuff Studio 397 won't probably use themselves, like SimHub. Or I don't know, my Dash has an old plugin, Motec has an own plugin, stuff like that. And I mean, in that case, it won't probably be caused by clients' issues, but more because of the coding. Anyway, as soon as the competition system comes back up, which is hopefully #soon, right now there is some kind of pre-season testing competition going, which is our every race right now. I'm not sure how is this going to be from tomorrow onwards, but from tomorrow onwards up to the 16th of January, we're gonna have the Tattoos FT60 Winter Series as the first competition test, or the first test of the competition system itself. We're gonna be at Portland from 24th to 26th December, Sunford 27th to 29th December, Silverstone 31st till 2nd of January, then Lime Rock Park from 3rd to 5th January, Loch Drummond from 7th to 9th January. Then we're going to be at Morris from 10th to 12th, and in the end Botnering from 14th to 16th. So seven different venues where you race, or where you should do a race each, I'll say every second day on seven venues, and then the best result counts. And at the end of the day, you have, or at the end of the 2 or 3 weeks, you're gonna have a ranking on it, and that's gonna be the first test for Studio 397 to gather data. How does the practice work? How does the transmission of sessions from practice to quality to warm up into race, the automatic results parser? How does this everything work? And how does also championship standings work? So basically, they've just launched a small championship, a small competition season like GT Pro and GT Challenge was or is on an official site, but they've just launched it as a test balloon, and now the real world users gonna deliver the data, gonna grind the system. I'm gonna grind the system, gonna do a stream per race, per track, stuff like that. So I told my girlfriend that we're gonna have 2 weeks off. Issues.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, I mean, on iRacing you have a track for a week. Here you now have a track for 3 days. I guess that's going to be changed, but since they want to get the data quick and still in reasonable amount of value, I think that is a fine and good start to it. And to be honest, I'm looking forward to it, how it's going to be working. As it said, currently it's sadly offline, so already doing updates, so they already found something, already fixing this. I've spoken to myself. For them it's very, very important, and I do know that they are just using the days between Christmas, New Year, and into the New Year, because they know people are at home, people may have time, people are off work, like I am for now, and they're gonna put the dedication into it. And I think as a community, all that we can really, really, really please you guys with is be patient with them, because that is a big change to the code, there's a big change to the sim, and there will be issues no matter what. But be constructive, try to pull in the same direction with everyone, and then maybe by the end of the year we're gonna have a working competition system and rising user numbers in rFactor too, which would be awesome.
Yeah, indeed. That the word patience is very important here.
Yes.
They've released it, but it doesn't mean it's going to be perfect. But also, for all those people so out there is a number of people who like to, I guess, hate a bit on rFactor 2. But I think the reason why they stay around is because at the base of it, they do still like rFactor 2, and they obviously still see some potential in it. And it's these types of people that need to go and just get involved with this, because the only way that rFactor 2 is going to make this system better is, as you say, if they get more races, if they get more data, they have more circumstances with them having to sort out championships and orders and all this sort of stuff. And the more data that they get and the more, I guess, numbers they get, that is all going to make it easier. So do go and get yourself involved in the new competition system. Obviously, as you say, it's slightly down at the moment, but I don't actually think it's down. I think it's down as in like broken, stopped. I think it's also because of the way it works. It's only going to be open when there is when there's actually an event on. So I think that
Well,
stuff today. I think that stuff today may have concluded as well, which is another reason. But again, we will see how that one works out. But yeah, get yourself involved, and Michi, if you're on streaming, I'll jump on with you and do some Turtus racing.
yeah, that's for sure. Just you mentioned something very important, not only for Studio 397, but also for the community, which was the fact people please to be patient and be helpful. And that is we can't force anyone, we can't pursue anyone to do stuff. We can only please you and praise the wrong word, but you know what I mean. Pray that you guys are gonna be patient and try to get data back. I've had talks with a lot of people, and I know given feedback and lots of things may have changed or not changed is a big thing. But the only thing I can really encourage you guys to is check out their forum, their official forum, Studio 397. I've just brought this up right there. So you see a lot of new threads right here. I am currently sitting in the forum for technical stuff, and there is technical and support. There is a possibility for you guys to give feedback. There is possible ways for you guys to bring up attentions or to bring up feedback to the devs, or to ask for help if you got a specific issue of what you think is maybe an issue of the game. And there was something else. So you see 213 pages of stuff. There is the one that we went for. So Ristocap, we all know him. He's one of the top esports guys. He immediately has opened a new UI aesthetics and functionality problems in order to make Studio 397 aware of what of the new UI is good or maybe bad. The team and we did a session last night already, and we brainstormed, and Dennis Jordan was friendly enough to put this up right there. So there's a wish list thing. Some people want to see stuff back. Some people want to have multiplayer improved, layouts. So, you know, they give a lot of feedback with reasoning, and they give a lot of feedback, not just sitting there like, this is crap, this is shit, this needs to be fixed, whatever. They actually give a suggestion what should be done, and that is the only thing I can encourage you guys. Like Aristocap has done it pretty nicely here. The new rFactor 2 UI setup page is a bit, yeah, you have to scroll left and right in order to see 2 of the 10 remaining panels there. So just resize them a little bit so you can click all of them and don't have to scroll. That is a perfect way, a perfect example of how to give goody feedback. That's why I also liked it. And same with Dennis Jordan. That is actually the list that we found being an issue on the new UI. And so I can only encourage you guys, do the same kind of stuff for the competition system. If you find some issues with that, give feedback, because without feedback we won't get it improved.
Yeah, indeed. And, you know, again, people may say, oh, did they actually, you know, look at these things and all this sort of stuff? But the end of the day is they do. But as you can see with the new UI and competition system, these things do take some time. You know, they don't have just people sitting there waiting to see, you know, the next bug report and fix it straight away. There's obviously schedules and planning, and currently them working on things anyway. So obviously, again, 2021. It, you know, we might see this going all the way to the autumn of 2021, for instance, or whatever. But as long as we're giving feedback and the community is getting involved, I think this can definitely go places.
I very much agree. One just is not allowed to forget, rFactor 2 started as by the company ISI back then from rFactor 1. And then they sort of bogged down, got taken over from Studio 397, and they had some friction while takeover, no question about that. But what happened ever since? We got laser scanned Spa, we got laser scanned Le Mans, we got laser scanned Nürburgring. We got, to me, the best looking Silverstone around. Maybe Assetto Corsa is doing a great job on that too, but the new Silverstone update that I brought out this summer just looks amazing, in my opinion. And we got a lot of GT3 cars. We got the Ligier being announced. We got the DPI being announced. We got a hypercar. We got a proper endurance package of cars. We may miss a Formula One type of car, an official one, I'd say. But there's so much stuff happening, and yes, we all do know that the current GT3 is broken tires, overdone slip angle, bad BOP, whatever. But you know, we cannot just be sitting there and keep fapping on the guys.
Also, how
Maybe,
many people complain about iRacing who play it and have paid hundreds of dollars there? No,
yeah. I mean,
um,
probably the same ratio. It's just like the
yeah,
base on rFactor 2 is a lot smaller, so it's always the same people that keep mourning,
yeah.
me
Nothing
included.
is nothing's perfect. And to
Yes.
be honest, actually, recently I've seen a lot of iRacing people actually starting to really dig into the issues that iRacing has. And I think once this competition system is sorted out, and especially if they put the right cars on there, because in my opinion, having GT3 this and GT3 that isn't the most practical thing for rFactor 2, because as you mentioned, the GT3s aren't best cars in the game. But yeah, I think as long as they put the right things in there, it's going to do really well. Um, it has the reason why rFactor 2 has still been around for so long is because of the potential that it had. Okay, obviously the base of it is really good, and it's got some issues on top of that. But the potential for that to be improved, fixed, and what it could be, better than the likes of iRacing is really what needs to be fulfilled over the next
Yes.
year, really. Um, and this is another step towards that. So yeah, I'm really looking forward and gonna be getting involved with this new competition system. And as I said, hopefully certain leagues can get involved with it as well, because I really do think that it has the ability to overcome um, many of the other simulations out there, just with a little bit of work in the right direction.
Yes. I think there's nothing much more to add. And from now on, we will just be surprised and probably sit back and wait and see what this new competition system brings up and what kind of potential is in there for rFactor 2. So yeah, if you guys after watching this will have any further questions on the topic, just put down the questions in the comment area below, or right now there in the live chat. We're gonna answer surely some of them straight away anyway. And yeah, I think that's gonna actually do it for this one.
Yeah, indeed. So this being the second episode of the Sim Pub, we're going to be bringing more your way, and as we get used to these, we're gonna potentially get in some different guests in there. We're gonna be answering some of your questions and this sort of stuff. So especially if you do have us on, Discord and whatnot. For instance, Michi's community Discord. If you get on there, you can find us, give us some questions and things to talk about in the next ones. We obviously have quite a few things planned, but obviously want to stay relevant to what interests you as well. So, so yeah, do that, and then we'll get onto it in the next episode, which I guess will be in the next week or so.
Yeah, it will be definitely be quite soon, as I already mentioned, with the new competition system being out and now being excessively tested, and being probably also the most important thing to many people. Like some guys are going outrageous. Oh, I want to see the DPI. Oh, I want to race the Ligier. Um, I for most, I want to check out that competition system, understand it, develop it, give feedback, and make it good and live as quick as we can. So I guess mm, maybe not this year, but in the new year on the Wednesday, so in 2 weeks, that would be. Let me see on the calendar real quickie. Um, because Wednesday next week would be the 30th. Well, 30th would be the break day after two races, Portland and Sandford. So, yeah, maybe on the 30th. I don't know yet. Cameron and me will decide, but at the very latest, then On the 6th of January, the next episode of the SimPub, talking about the rFactor 2 competition system all alone. I think that by then will be a topic huge enough to fill a good hour of talking, discussion, questions, and thoughts. And yeah, I think that will do it for right now. For the guys watching currently, as soon as the competition system comes up again, I want to have a go on it. At the very latest tomorrow, around noon. Depending on how many races are there. Marcel Offerman said something about a race every 5 hours. When I was on the competition system 2 hours ago, it was only, like, I think a race each and every hour. And yeah, we will see as soon as I do know when it's up and live again tomorrow. I'm gonna put out a live stream and we're gonna do the first steps all together there. So if you're interested in that, make sure that you subscribe to the channel and follow up on Twitch. And also give our co-host Cameron Rodger a reaching hand by subscribing to... Oh dear. Just do the promo yourself, man. Is it Hot Rod Automotive, was it, right?
Yeah, subscribe to Hot Rod Automotive.
Yeah, Hot Rod Automotive. I wasn't sure whether it was Rod Hut, but it was Hot Rod. I always mix it up the moment I want to say it.
Yeah, HUDROD.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Best automotive YouTube channel that there is. So yeah, that is what I've been doing over the course of this year, and we're obviously going into the future as well, as along with sorting out FSR and whatnot. So we've seen a couple of comments in the chat. Hey, when's FSR news coming? Hashtag soon.
Hashtag
So,
soon.
yeah.
Nice.
So
That's gonna
but,
be another
yeah.
the SimPub then. rFactor 2 news.
Well, definitely. I said I don't know exactly when it's going to be released, but I'm sure we can discuss all that once the juicy info is out. But
Yeah,
yeah.
sure. Actually gives us a date probably around the mid or end of January already. Lenyard, where can I find the race schedule? One way to find it, I think it's probably the only way as well, is to load up rFactor 2, go into the race section of the game, and then on the very right hand side, when you scroll to the right, you find the competition system, and then there is a running season. And in that season, you're going to see the schedule in terms of days. You're not going to see the schedule in terms of races just yet, which is, by the way, a point of improvement from my point of view. So since we're still on it, I have just fired up the rFactor 2 game just to see a first look into the new UI again, and also how this competition system looks like. If it is maybe up again, we will not know, or we will see in a couple of seconds, and then I can show you where you find this schedule. So something that you see is the launcher has been gone. Here you also find the latest news and stuff. So you click race on the top, then you see on the right hand side competition system, sign up for competition, and
Are we on?
Dead.
If
Yeah,
yeah,
not sure.
To be honest, it's actually a shame that we can't show it to you, because I actually think, as much as the UI itself, some people say is maybe a little bit unintuitive, the actual bit when you get into competition looks really nice.
Yes.
And really great. They've done a really good job with it. So yeah, I'm sure you're going to be having lots of fun. Obviously, that you can see they got these renders from the top view as well. So that's going to be all of the cars that are going to be involved in the competition from that angle as well. It's going to look really good. So yeah, next week or the week after, we will get into that, and maybe even before then, there'll be some streams on this channel where I'll be getting involved, jumping in with Michi as well for some Tattoos racing, and hopefully we get in the same split.
Potentially we will. By the time I probably have to say, there's not too much people racing at the same time. Yeah. Anyway, that's gonna take us to the end for this one, guys. Thank you very much for all your attendance tonight.
Big massive thank you.
Yeah, big massive thank you. Was a good show. Was an interesting topic. I think we sadly got a little bit off course on how to get into sim racing. Got pretty specific in the end, but yeah, I think overall we have probably answered or give you a little bit of a guideline or guidance as you wanted to get into sim racing. What is you need to make yourself up a mind of. I should go back to school and learn some grammar. But yeah, you know what I mean. So as we hope that you have now a little bit more of an idea of the things that you need to sort first before actually getting out on track. And as I said, if you have any questions whatsoever, put them down in the comments area below. Cameron and me will have a look on the comments side in the next couple of days and weeks and answer your questions.
Yes,
Cameron,
so
you're allowed to do the closing.
yeah, so thanks for watching. Subscribe to Hard Rod Automotive, subscribe to Michi Sim Racing, and we hope to see you out on the track.
Alright guys, that's gonna do it for right now. I may be doing some iRacing later on still with a midnight race and a new Dallara. You guys have seen the awesome new car? Wait. I just gonna have to show it real quickie. Mr.
Oh,
Coffelino,
your new
yes.
livery.
Mr. Coffelino has done an awesome job there. We have finalized the paint last night, and the guy was amazing. Has done an amazing job. Bear with me. Just gonna put up 2 pictures real quick. For those of you that have already watched it, F for fucking up everything. Bear with me. I just need to go back. Hello. There's Cameron again. Sorry.
Hello, guys.
Yeah, so that is the new design of my Dallara IR01. It's gonna be an iconic car you will also see again in the FSR 2021 season. Not actually on track while racing. Don't think the burst guys are gonna agree to this livery, despite it's looking good, but there's no burst colors on it. But you're gonna mainly see this car being raced in iRacing. It is an interesting car, let's say, but especially around Silverstone, I've found my satisfaction driving it. So if I'm still gonna be up for it at midnight, you're gonna see me race this beauty, and hope that you guys will be around. And if you ever need a good-looking livery, contact Mr. Coffelino here in the YouTube chat. That dude is doing an awesome work. Like, ultra quick, high quality. If you have iterations whatsoever, if you got a V10, V11, version 12, 13, whatever, he's gonna fix it for you until you're happy. And that is the result of what he's done to me, and I'm very happy with that. So
Yeah, that looks really good.
yeah, I'm actually quite loving it. It's the more I look at it, the more groovy eyes I get. And Mr. Coffelino will get hopefully more customers because he deserves some. Like the work he's done is awesome. Do you remember the USF to 20,000 Monaco Invitational last year?
I do.
He has done like 30 or 35 liveries within a few couple of days, and all of them were freaking awesome, despite which are like 5 or 10-minute jobs. So that guy really deserves it. Anyway, we're gonna go off guard here, and coming back to the point, that's gonna do it for this one here in the Sim Pub. Thank you, Cameron, for being with us. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I hope you enjoyed it, and we see you there next time. Goodbye.